Did you know you can buy silver at spot price? Get your 10-ounce bar of silver at spot price today. Go to sdbullion.com/RP. Not only will you be buying silver without any premium, you'll also be supporting the independent media. Reluctant Preppers gets a small commission when you take advantage of this special offer, going to sdbullion.com/RP. That's sdbullion.com/RP.
We are the only country in the world where you elect your chief law enforcement officer. Now, why is that important to the people? Because we are the only law enforcement that works directly for the citizens. I don't work for the commissioners. I don't work for the judges. I don't work for the prosecutor. I don't work for the governor. I don't work for the president. I work for the 128,400 people in Wood County.
As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Welcome back, Reluctant Preppers. Today we have a special guest, Sheriff Mark Wasylyshyn, Sheriff of Wood County, Ohio, also a member of the Board of Directors of the National Sheriff's Association, who chairs its Crime Prevention and Privacy Security Committee, and also serves on several other of its national committees. Sheriff Mark Wasylyshyn is here to give us an insider's view of some of the aspects of how partnership between individuals and their county sheriffs can improve their security, their ability to protect and preserve their rights and of their home and their family, keep themselves safe, and help others to stay safe around them. Welcome to our channel, Sheriff Mark.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoy being on and look forward to speaking with your viewers.
One of the first questions when I heard you at a recent speech that you gave about public safety was an awareness you shared about whom your sheriff actually works for. I thought it was remarkable because a lot of the people who we've talked with about home preparedness are taking into their own hands measures to increase their family security and safety, and not always expecting that law enforcement, for example, will be available at times of crisis or times that they may be needed. So they're trying to increase, seeing what they can do on their own as well. But you gave a insight into who does your county sheriff actually work for that I thought was eye-opening. Could you share that with our listeners?
Absolutely. Sheriffs are very unique. Most states, the sheriff is elected. And in most states, the sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer. So the uniqueness is we are the only law enforcement that is elected in our country, and equally important, we are the only country in the world, and I'm going to repeat that, we are the only country in the world where you elect your chief law enforcement officer. Now, why is that important to the people? Because we are the only law enforcement that works directly for the citizens. I don't work for the commissioners. I don't work for the judges. I don't work for the prosecutor. I don't work for the governor. I don't work for the president. I work for the 128,400 people in Wood County. Now, that doesn't mean I don't work with all the above. In other words, the commissioners fund my budget. They, by law, have to fund my budget, but the better I get along with them, the better my budget is funded. The judges certainly can give me orders to do things, which I have to follow. The prosecutor is my attorney, so I'm wise to work with and listen to the advice of the prosecutor, because that way when I get sued, he's the one that has to defend me. And if he says, I told you not to do that, and I get sued, so obviously it's prudent and wise of me as the sheriff to take advantage of and work with the other elected officials. But when it comes to safety issues, different laws, different things happening statewide and nationally, as the sheriff, I always look at it as what is the best for the citizens of Wood County. Not what's best for the sheriff or the sheriff's office or for whoever in government. My answer, the way I look at things, is always what is best for the citizens of Wood County. Now, are all my bosses happy with me? No. Some of my bosses are sitting in the jail that I have, but a majority of the citizens hopefully like what I do, and if they like what I do, then I pass my pass-fail test that I have every 4 years. So in 2016, I will be on the ballot, And if a majority of the voters like what I'm doing, the direction I'm going, I get another 4-year contract to continue being sheriff. If they're not happy with the job I'm doing, I'm out the door.
That idea of the power being with the people is something that's certainly constitutionally rooted in our country, and it seems that the office of sheriff and the relationship of the sheriff to the people of the counties in each state is something that's usually brought forth in each state's constitution. So a lot of the viewers on our channel are quite interested in constitutional liberties, constitutional rights, and the people being the basis for underpinning the rights in America. So it's comes as welcome and quite, as you mentioned, unique news to the ears of a lot of people to hear that their county sheriff really does work for them and is accountable to them.
We have had sheriffs in Ohio since 1788, and I always get people looking at me saying, well, gee, Ohio wasn't a state until 1802. Well, actually, when Ohio was a territory, we had a sheriff. And when they had the ballot in 1802, when they first had the ballot, there were only 2 offices that the people of Ohio, the new state, voted on, and that was for governor and for sheriff.
So in that role as sheriff, what do you see as your primary mission? What is the mission of the sheriff of any county?
Well, very good. It was going to depend on their state because, again, the duties, responsibilities of a sheriff vary from state to state. But in Ohio, as the Ohio Revised Code dictates what my duties and responsibilities are. Actually, it's Section 311.07 of the Ohio Revised Code, and any of your listeners are certainly welcome to Google that. The very first thing it says in there is that I am charged with preserving the peace. Now, what does that mean? That means a lot of things, but generally I have to make sure that I do everything I can, and law enforcement in Wood County does everything it can to preserve the peace in the county.
In partnering with you in that regards, individual homeowners are interested in peace in their domestic castle, their home, and if you could walk us through a number of factors of how people can increase the security and preparedness of their home to manage peacefully through whatever may come. If you could talk, first of all, perhaps a few ideas about people having ways of increasing the physical security of their home.
Many people live in the same place for many years, so they've never looked at it from the eyes of, what if I were a burglar? So look at your house during the daytime and see how many hiding places do I have. Are there a lot of bushes that are overgrown around the house? Are there a lot of trees with low-hanging branches? What are some things that I can do physically to trim some things up to not have hiding places? Because if someone's going to burglarize a house, they love to have hiding places. And we do have daytime break-ins in the county, especially in the rural areas. Even in town, people work during the day. A lot of neighborhoods are empty or virtually empty. So there's a lot of opportunities for burglars. So try to eliminate the hiding places. Secondly, look at your home at nighttime. Where are the dark spots? Do I need to put a little, even a 30-watt LED light is going to illuminate enough that you're going to be able to see the shadows if someone looks at your property to see if someone is there. Some very basic things. I'm amazed at how many people don't lock their doors at night, or how many people leave during the day to go somewhere and they don't lock their doors. I'm amazed at the people on a regular basis that tell me I don't even know where the keys to my door is because I don't use it. I don't lock it. Again, different people, different comfort levels, good for them. I just, in today's world, maybe as a sheriff, maybe I'm seeing more or aware of things, so I'm more nervous about that. But locking doors, and certainly deadbolt locks, are huge. Many people still have very simple locks on their doors that are very easy to open. A deadbolt lock, if someone does breach it, which certainly you can breach most locks, if they do break a door in, it's going to make a lot of noise. And a burglar doesn't like to make noise, certainly not at nighttime, or certainly not if someone is home. 99%, vast number of burglars do not want people to be home, or certainly don't want they don't want to encounter the person living in the house. So if they go to a house that's unlocked or has a very flimsy lock, they're going to choose that home over your home if you have deadbolt locks. I have in my home, I strongly encourage people to have an alarm system. I actually monitor my own alarm system through an app over the internet where I can know who's turning my alarm on and off. I even know if there's a problem with my generator. So with this app, I not only know if my furnace goes out, but I also know if my sump pump stops working. And it's very inexpensive. When I was a child, my perception was only rich people had alarm systems because they were expensive, they were cumbersome, they were not flexible. Today, they're much less expensive, very flexible, very user-friendly, and on my smartphone, I can turn the alarm on and off and monitor what's going on in and around my home. So I strongly recommend people do that, and actually you get a break on your homeowner's insurance, and because I have smoke detectors tied into it, I also get a break on my fire insurance through my homeowner's policy because I have those systems. So I highly recommend that. In my years as sheriff, very few successful break-ins have taken place where someone had an active alarm system. And what I mean by active alarm system, we've had break-ins, and I've asked the people, gee, why didn't your alarm go off? And they're like, well, we don't use it. If you have the alarm system, use the alarm system. And the price of those have come down where you can get a very basic system for between $500 and $1,000 to protect your home. So I think to recap, use your locks, have the good deadbolt locks, use your alarm system. If you have an alarm system, if not, please get an alarm system, and look at the outside of your property. If you were a burglar, where would you hide? And not only look at it in the daytime, but more importantly, or equally importantly, look at it at nighttime. One last thing I'll throw in, motion lights are very good also, because the prospective trespasser or burglar, when those lights come on, the first thing is they don't know if those lights came on because of a motion sensor or those lights come on because someone saw them.
So what are some other options for monitoring if people are going to be away from home at work, or if they're going to be away on vacation, as far as partnering in their community with their neighbors or with the sheriff's office directly?
Absolutely. We offer a free service for anyone that we are the primary law enforcement for. They can go to my website, woodcountysheriff.com, and they put in when they're leaving on vacation, when they're returning from vacation, what lights are going to be on, what vehicle are going to be in the driveway. And again, this is for a house that's vacant. They're on vacation. We can't check the home. If you're going to tell me, well, I've got someone coming 3 times a day to take care of the dog, and we have someone else that may be staying there, because we're not going to know, is this person staying there the burglar, or is this person staying there someone that's supposed to be there? So this is for people that go on vacation where no one is checking on their home. They don't have anyone staying there. There's no one coming and going. We will literally check the property twice a day, once on our day shift and once on our night shift. And we literally have the deputy walk around the property, checking the doors, making sure everything's okay. Great visibility thing. We get a lot of comments from the neighbors and others that notice how visible we are when we check the property. But I also strongly recommend that people get to know their neighbors. When I grew up in a relatively small, much smaller back then, Rossford, town in the northern part of our county. Everyone knew everyone. We knew all the neighbors, and people knew when someone was out of town. We didn't have any break-ins because my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and they knew what their neighbors were doing. Today's world, people, many of them don't know who lives three doors down. They don't know who lives across the street. They don't know who lives behind them. And that's really unfortunate, because we've lost that community of keeping an eye on each other. So if you know your neighbors, you get along with your neighbors, let them know when you're gone. Let them know how to get a hold of you if something happens while you're gone.
And you also talked about when you're taking trips away from home, whether it's just shopping and errands, or whether it's out and about, options for keeping yourself and your family more safe when you're in public places. What are some of the key points you talk about in that area?
Absolutely. First of all, be aware of your surroundings. Let me actually back up. When you get to a shopping center, pay attention to where you park. People go to shopping centers, and when we get into the height of Christmas shopping, for example, it's dark in our part of the country at 5 o'clock in the middle of December. And when you pull in the parking lot, look for a place where you're near a light. So when you leave, it may be light when you get there at 4 o'clock, but when you leave, it might be dark. So think about, when I leave this place, is it going to be light? So pay attention to that. Secondly, can I see the door that I'm going into from where I'm parked? If your car is visible from inside or from that business or from other businesses, it's less likely to get broken into, because, again, people breaking into cars don't want to be seen, so they like cars that are parked around the corner, or maybe there aren't windows near where they're parked. So think about that. And also, if you can see the door that you're going to be going into, you'll be able to see your car when you go to leave, or at least around the area of your car. So think about where you park, lighting, can I see the door? When you go into the store, and certainly if it's a mall or a large shopping center, pay attention to where you parked. Not only do we have people that come to different fairs and festivals that can't remember where they parked their car, and we spend a great deal of time driving around. Same thing happens when people go into malls. They forget what door they went in, and now they can't figure out where the car is. And when you're out in the parking lot looking for your car, you're a sitting duck, basically saying, come rob me, come take my valuables, because I'm totally distracted because I can't find my car. So once you go shopping and you're ready to leave, before you leave the building, before you leave the store, get your keys out. Don't do like I've seen people do in parking lots. I've seen people put the purse on the trunk of the car, fishing through, looking for the keys, their belongings sitting next to them. Again, totally oblivious to their surroundings. This is a sign that should have been done in the store. Before you leave the building, have your keys out, have your fob with you, and look out the door before you leave. And the reason I want you to do this is I want you to look out that lot towards your car and see, is there anyone hanging around the parking lot? Is there anything unusual going on in the lot? Now, what are some things that are unusual? Certainly, if there's a gang of 12 people sitting around there, you're going to go back in the store and say, hey, can I have security walk me out? Can you call? I don't feel safe going to my vehicle. The other thing that would be unusual would be a couple in a car. And let me emphasize that. When my wife goes shopping, I hate shopping. I'd rather sit in the car, read a book, take a nap, listen to a radio show, do something, maybe have root canal, versus going shopping. So it's not uncommon to go to a shopping center and see men or see a spouse sitting in the car waiting for the other person to come back out. The reason I say the couple should be a red light, or certainly a caution light to sign not being right, frequently there will be a couple in a car that one person will get out of the car and grab your purse while the driver of the car is one or two rows over, so you can't get a good description of the car, and you certainly cannot get a license plate, and they run between the cars, hop in the car with your purse before you know what happened, and they're gone. So when you see that couple, that should be a caution light to this. You're sitting in the car watching people, should be wondering, okay, why are they here? What's going on? Maybe I should go back in and ask for security to escort me out. Listen to your sixth sense. The reason I say that, we all know we just use a small portion of our brains. There's a lot going on subconsciously that we process that sometimes our conscience does not pick up on. So if you're going out to your car, or you're anywhere, you're going for a walk around the neighborhood, or you're in a strange city, or you're anywhere, and you have that feeling, hey, you know what, someone's watching me, something doesn't feel right, I'm not feeling comfortable, it's probably or possibly because your subconscious is picking up on something that your conscious is not picking up on. So if you're out and about, time to think about, maybe I ought to go in somewhere to a store or go somewhere and just kind of reevaluate why I'm not feeling comfortable.
Now, in addition to these individual measures that each person can take for their personal safety or their family safety when they're out, there's also other types of upsets that can happen. Natural disasters can happen. And part of the focus of our channel is about readiness for whatever might come. Recently, York County, Wood County, was one of the few counties in the country that was affected by a nationally publicized disaster in the domestic water supply was tainted and declared unfit to drink in the Toledo and surrounding areas, which affected up to, some estimates say, 500,000 people for a period of days. If you can tell some specific awarenesses that were gained from that experience, and in general, what types of preventative or precautionary measures you recommend people should take to make sure that their family is going to be able to take care of what they need in times of disaster.
When someone is in your home, you have every right to protect yourself and your family. And I encourage people to do that, because I can't have a deputy out in front of everybody's house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, protecting every house. And I think most reasonable people are going to agree with that.
As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Now, in addition to these individual measures that each person can take for their personal safety or their family safety when they're out, there's also other types of upsets that can happen. Natural disasters can happen. And part of the focus of our channel is about readiness for whatever might come. Recently, your county, Wood County, was one of the few counties in the country that was affected by a nationally publicized disaster in the domestic water supply was tainted and declared unfit to drink in the Toledo and surrounding areas, which affected up to, some estimates say, 500,000 people for a period of days. If you can tell some specific awarenesses that were gained from that experience, and in general, what types of preventative or precautionary measures you recommend people should take to make sure that their family is going to be able to take care of what they need in times of disaster.
Absolutely. Well, one of the fortunate things that happened for us in Wood County, we have several different water sources. We have, first of all, many people like myself who are on well water, so I was unaffected. And geographically, the largest part of our county is served by a different water system than the one coming from Toledo that gets its water out of the Maumee River, and they did not have any issues. Their water was good to go. The other thing that, so the area that was affected was the northern part of our county that borders Lucas County, which is where Toledo is. So some of our cities were affected, but we found out that many of them cut themselves off of the Toledo supply, because from the time they do their testing, those microbes had not made it into Wood County, so they were able to cut themselves off. And there are talks now that they're looking into putting an interconnect between the water system that gets the water out of the river and the system that is tied into the Toledo system, but putting a connection in there that could temporarily open if there were a problem in the future. Let's say one water plant is down for some reason, they could hook in to the other system and maybe on a short term feed both. There are a lot of challenges in doing that, because now you're potentially mixing two different water systems together, so there will be some challenges. But I really think one of the positive things that will happen is they will resolve those issues so that we can turn off from one system and have the people get the water from another. But what you and I can do, we should have bottled water in our homes to have drinking water regardless. I mean, it's a sign that things can happen, whether there's a major water break or again, this situation with the unfit water from Toledo. Things happen. So certainly having bottled water stashed away, and you're going to know better than I do on the shelf life, but I know the shelf life is quite long for water when it's in a dark area, as long as light is not shining on it. So strongly recommend you get water, because as long as you can drink, you're okay, because certainly no matter how bad the water is, you can use it to flush your toilets, and certainly it would take a lot before we would not be able to bathe in the water. So drinking water, we can go, and we don't have to bathe, do we? We like it when our family members and friends bathe, but whether we like it or not, we have to drink water. So having some water stored in the home is certainly a very wise, prudent thing to do for many reasons.
Besides natural disasters, you're also an expert on people getting registered for sexual predator alerts. Another way that people want to keep their families safe is from other types of harm, which can come from human causes as well, not just natural causes. So can you tell us a little bit about why this is important, and what specific steps, how people can partner with their sheriff in that regard? Absolutely.
I'm a firm believer, not only with the sexual offenders, but many other things in our lives. Knowledge is power, and I think that's certainly something that you talk about in part of the preparedness, is knowing what is going on. And we try to make it as easy as we can when it comes to the people that we register. One of the duties of an Ohio sheriff is to register and keep track of our sex offenders. We started several years ago the ability to get email notifications for anyone we register in my office or any office in the state of Ohio, any sheriff's office in the state of Ohio. We have to register the sex offenders based on what county they live in, where they live, work, or go to school. So basically, you could have one person that might have to register with 3 counties if they live in one county, work in the other county, and go to school in the third county. And that does happen because some of it's people who live relatively close or do business or go to school where the counties are close together, maybe in a corner of an area where you're close to multiple counties. So with this email notification, when we sign them up, and our deputy has all the information of what they were charged with, what tier they are, we have their picture. So when he registers them into the Attorney General's website, because all this stuff goes filtered through the Ohio Attorney General's office, you will get instantly. My understanding is it's virtually the same time he sends it into the AG's office. At that point, it gets emailed out to our email list based on a radius that people put in when they sign up. You can put in, I just want to know people that are a quarter mile away from me, a half mile away, a mile away, or maybe even live in a rural area and they want to know 2 miles away. You will get an email showing you a map where you live or where the address is that you put in, because it doesn't have to be your home. It could be the address of a daycare. It could be your babysitter. It could be a relative that you put in their address. And so you can now see where your address is and where the sex offender is living. You will get a picture of the sex offender. You will find out what tier they are. You will find out what the original crime was that they committed. And this is very helpful, especially what the original crime was. And let me explain a example of someone you are going to want to be concerned about and someone that maybe is no more of a risk than anyone else.
Yeah, please.
We had a person who had to register with us for 10 years because when he was 19 years old, he was dating a 15-year-old girl. And her parents were not happy with it, so they filed charges against him. And that was because of the age difference at that point. Again, her being 15, him being 19, that was an offense, and thereby requiring him for 10 years to register with us. Let's move forward 10 years, even less than that. She grew up. She got to be 18, and he is now, 22. They get married. They now have 3 children. They live in a subdivision. They work. If they lived next door to me, I would have no issues or concerns because he is now, 10 years later, he's 29. She's 25. He is not, in my eyes, looking at my 15-year-old daughter, and it's a different time now. You know what I mean? He's in love with his wife. They have children. He's no more risk to reoffending than any other 29-year-old person. Okay. So, to me, yes, he had to register because of what he did when he was 19. He did violate the law. He had to register with us, but again, not a high-risk person. Let's take another example. We have people who are pedophiles, that are adults, that are grown up, who are attracted to young boys, young girls, and have offended children. These people, these pedophiles, we know that they will get caught. 65% of them will get caught reoffending with another child. 65% get caught. Well, that tells me that a much higher percentage than that are offending because not everyone gets caught. So when I have a pedophile that is registered, and again, normally those are tier 3, those are the highest that require us to actually do a mailing and do notifications to everyone in the area, that's someone that you're really going to want to pay attention to and be aware of that, hey, I'm not going to have my child playing at his house. I'm not going to have my child selling Girl Scout cookies there, or I'm not going to have my child doing odd jobs for this person,
right,
because this pedophile probably, statistically, is going to reoffend, and I want to make sure it's not with my child. If I don't sign up for the email notifications and I'm outside of I think it's a 1,200-foot range that we have to send a notification, we always broaden that a little bit. But if I live nearby, I want to know. That's something that is really, really important for me to know this person because it's extremely likely they're going to offend again. The email notifications are free. Every sheriff in the state of Ohio does it, and there are, I think it's 19 different states that use watch systems. That's the program we use for the tracking of sex offenders. And if you live in Ohio, you can go to any of our websites. You can go to my website and sign up because we're all connected. So you can put in any address. Actually, I just found out the other day, this is even great news. If you go to my website, woodcountysheriff.com, you can not only put in any address in the state of Ohio, you can put in any address in the state of Michigan, and you can put in any address in the state of Indiana. Because the same company does all those states, and they actually do 19 of the states. So if Watch System does your states, you can go through my website to enter your address to get the email notifications. My frustration is that we only have, and I just checked it this morning, 13.1% of our households are signed up for email notifications. And we're in the top 10 nationally of percentages of households that are signed up. So actually, as far as Watch Systems, and if I look at my peers, we're doing great. I am very disappointed that we're only at 13%. We should be at 80% or more. But there are some people that ignorance is bliss. They don't want to know. I've gone and spoken to groups, and what I do to help get our numbers up is I actually have them fill out the form while I speak, and then I collect the form when I leave, and then we enter it, because if I ask people to enter it, by the time they get home, they get distracted, they don't do it. I've actually had some people say, I don't want to know. That's their right privilege to do that. I don't understand that mentality, but that's their mentality, and that's certainly their prerogative to not sign up and not want to know. But I think a vast majority of people would want to know if there's a sex offender living down the street or around the corner or a couple blocks away.
The subtitle of our site here is Aware and Prepared. And how can you be aware without getting information? As you mentioned, information being power, and then being prepared so that you can take other actions. You can choose to avoid or keep your family safe in some other way, so that you first have to have the awareness, though. It sounds like the key is it's an opt-in system, so you need to opt in by registering with your sheriff's office.
Absolutely, because some people don't want to know, so I guess that's why it's important to have that opt-in. But I think the other thing to bear in mind, a great example of where this helped out, we recently found out that there was it was like a babysitting club. It was a group of parents in an elementary school that got together and said, hey, how about if we watch each other's children? If we want to go out to dinner, or we work till this time, or we'll watch, if you watch them after school, I'll watch yours on Saturday. And they've been doing this for a while. And one of them signed up for email notifications and found out that one of the parents a few years ago, as an adult parent, had relations with a 15-year-old girl or 14-year-old girl, and it happened years ago, but he was an adult, and much further age difference than what I used in my example earlier, and they would not have had any idea, because he had committed this before they were required to do the ongoing notifications. But anyway, they found out through our email notifications that he was a sex offender, and certainly opened up their eyes of, gee, they seem like a normal couple. They got kids in my children's school. We see them all the time. Had no idea. You can't tell by looking at people that they're a sex offender.
Now, on another topic related to home protection, a number of our viewers are very concerned about their ability to, especially if they've locked their doors and they've got some stockpiles perhaps of food and water or other things. They want to be able to also protect their home, their domestic castle. And on the topic of home protection, there's a related topic of concealed carry registration, and there are safety considerations that go. As you mentioned, some people are on the, I don't want to know about registered sex offenders in my area. Some people are on the, I don't ever want even think about there being people. It tends to be a hot and cold issue. Some people want firearms. Some people want nothing to do with them. Some people feel that it increases their domestic safety. Some people feel the exactly opposite. But if you could just walk us through some of the recommendations, considerations you talk with people about concealed carry, what role the sheriff's office has to do with that, and specifically home protection and firearm safety considerations.
Absolutely. Ohio sheriffs were the only law enforcement, I'm the third vice president of the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association, and our association was very vocal in support of people being able to carry concealed weapons. And all the rest of the law enforcement organizations in the state of Ohio were against it. So because we were the one that was for it when it passed, we now have the honor and pleasure of issuing the permits for carry concealed weapons. I am a very strong believer that if someone wants to carry a gun, they're a law-abiding citizen, they get the permit, they certainly can and should carry the weapon where they're comfortable doing that, if they're comfortable doing it. I think people need to be responsible in being prudent in the use of it. Certainly, I think our qualifications on the training, the one time they have to show their proficiency, and this may upset some of the gun people. My concern is there are some people that will get a gun and shoot it one time or one day when they go to get the permit, and they put bullets in it, and they basically forget about it, and they never shoot it again until there's an emergency. They're not going to be very accurate. They're going to have issues. So I encourage people who carry a gun to practice with the gun,
right?
To the ammo. I knew one person that had a gun that the bullets that he had in his gun, after I questioned him about it, they had been in his gun for over 20 years. So I'm not sure I would want to have my life depend on bullets that have been in a gun in all different temperatures in different environments for 20 years, and all of a sudden expect that when I pull the trigger it's going to fire. Now, maybe it will, but I certainly would not bet my life on it. So I think there's certainly responsibility on the gun holder's part, in my opinion, to be proficient with that gun, to be comfortable with that gun, to practice with that gun, because what you do in a real situation is going to be directly related to how you practice and how you prepare yourself for that. But getting back to that, I certainly feel very strongly in the castle law that if someone is breaking into your home or breaks into your home, you have every right to do what you need to do to protect yourself and your family in your home. No question that is, and the law is going to back you up when someone is in your home. You have every right to protect yourself and your family, and I encourage people to do that, because I can't have a deputy out in front of everybody's house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, protecting every house. And I think most reasonable people are going to agree with that. I also strongly feel that they need to educate their family members on what the gun is, how the gun works, the gun safety of that gun, not just the person that's going to use it, but I think the whole family has to know. And that's something that my son, since he was very young, I've always showed him gun safety, allowed him to shoot my guns so that he had a comfort level. And I think I eliminated a lot of the mystique and the mystery of the gun by not saying, well, gee, when you get older, I'll let you look at it. I'm going to put this on the shelf until you're older, because I think a lot of times children are going to be curious and saying, okay, well, when Dad's not, because children watch us. If you have a key hidden somewhere, a combination, our children watch everything. I think it'd be easy for a child, not trying to be malicious, to know, okay, I know the combination to the safe, or I know where the key's hidden to the gun cabinet. If we get rid of the mystery of it and let them see the gun when it's unloaded, and let them, show them how to load, unload, how to make the gun safe, let them shoot the gun, they're going to feel not obligated to try to sneak and look at it when you're not around, in my opinion. So to answer your question on how I feel, I very strongly am a supporter of the Second Amendment rights of bearing arms and people being able to protect themselves with a gun, and certainly their homes.
Now, a related article came out just last month. The title of the article was provocative: Sheriffs Ignore Gun Laws in Support of Second Amendment Citizens. The first leadoff sentence: some sheriffs in rural areas across the U.S. are vowing to ignore tighter gun laws and stand with the people they serve to support the Second Amendment. In your role as sheriff, what are the dynamics that you see playing out in our country? And could you give us sort of an inside perspective of what some of the considerations are that sheriffs are facing in different states around the country as these laws are discussed?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to really emphasize that we are a country of laws, and we have a legal system that has checks and balances. And I have taken an oath to uphold the laws of the state of Ohio and uphold the Constitution. So someone's going to come back and say, oh, wait a minute, we have this law now that maybe is going to say it's unconstitutional to have this type of a gun or to do whatever. That my job as the sheriff is not to interpret law. It is not my place to sit there and say, well, I agree with this law, I don't agree with that law. We have a court system that if someone doesn't agree with the law, then we need to go through the legal process and appeal those laws, fight those laws. But I have to enforce the laws. And let me give you an example. I may not believe in abortion. Their abortions can be done legally. But because I don't agree with abortions, does that mean I should be able to arrest the doctor, the nurses, and maybe the mother of that child for murder because they have an abortion? The answer is no. I can't go do that. I wouldn't be sheriff very long if I decided to put it on myself that I'm going to start arresting doctors that are legally, based on the laws, committing that, even though I morally, religiously, and personally feel that that's murder. I can't, because our society is saying that it's okay to do these abortions. And again, that's an extreme example, but let's do the same thing with the guns. Or any other law, if I sit there and say, well, I have a different interpretation of this law, so I'm not going to enforce this, but I'm going to enforce that, we're going to get into a lot of problems. We live in the best country in the world. We may not agree, and I certainly don't agree with all the politics that we have, and I don't agree with all the laws, but it's not my place, nor is it any other sheriff's place, to start picking and choosing how they're going to enforce one law or not enforce the other. I will certainly be outspoken, both publicly and privately, about gun laws and all the different restrictions that may be out there. But we had laws when Bill Clinton was in office that eliminated a lot of our AR-15s and different weapons, and that expired, and then they were allowed again. Well, I don't remember people not enforcing that law when Bill Clinton was president. Didn't agree with it. I didn't like it, but it was law.
Sounds like your overall approach, though, is that people should speak out and be aware and exercise their democratic rights as citizens to oppose any laws that they believe to be unfair, unjust, or wrong against the Constitution, that sort of thing, but to do it through the channels that are available. And your role as sheriff is the same, is to uphold the laws that exist.
Yeah, and I will be and have been very outspoken for gun rights, but I also have a job to do, and that is to enforce the laws, whether I agree with them, whether I like them or don't like them. There are ways to do that, and that is to pay attention on who you elect. Who do you elect as a judge? Our judges, certainly on the local level, state level, Supreme Court, are elected. Now, I understand the federal judges are appointed, and that's why we have to pay attention to who we elect as our president,
right, because
they're the ones that are going to appoint those judges. So let's not put it on the sheriff, or let's not put it on whoever. Let's pay attention to who we elect in the White House. And maybe we like, some people vote for the president because they like all the social programs and like all the, hey, we're going to have all this, he's going to give us this and give us health care, give us all those things, like it or not, what have you. But more importantly, where is he at philosophically? What type of person is he going to put in there as judge? So if we don't like what the federal judges are doing, then we need to really pay attention 2 years from now when we have new people running for president, and not only maybe vote for whoever we like that is running for that office, but maybe even sending a few dollars. And believe me, I have talked to candidates that are running for a national office. Those $20 donations make a big difference. That $20 adds up and helps them in that campaign. And that's actually one of the things that President Obama did. He did a really grassroots where people were able to tweet in their, however use their smartphones to make donations to his campaign. Very smart. I mean, that was you have to give the guy credit on how he ran both his campaigns, and he won both times. So do we sit there and say, gee, this guy shouldn't be president? He should, I was at a function the other day yesterday, as a matter of fact, and said, we ought to impeach the president. Well, why? He did what he said he was going to do. What has he done as president that he didn't tell us ahead of time he wasn't going to do? And he overwhelmingly got, he certainly won. It wasn't as close as it was with Bush and Gore. He won by a big enough margin that this is what the people voted. So that's what we have. And we are, again, a country of laws. And the nice thing is we're going to have an opportunity in 2 years to elect someone that perhaps will be much more open to Second Amendment rights.
Speaking of the power of electronic age, what about cybersecurity? As people, you mentioned, Facebook or other things can be influential in terms of getting things done socially. What are other ways that people need to make sure that they're keeping themselves and their families safe online?
As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
What about cybersecurity? As people, you mentioned, Facebook or other things can be influential in terms of getting things done socially. What are other ways that people need to make sure that they're keeping themselves and their families safe online?
Well, Facebook, Twitter, I'm amazed at the give all kinds of information that they put out about themselves that I would never think that I would put out to people. Again, we use one in the office to let people know about road conditions or crime trends, etc. We have, the Nixle thing, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. But I have been on Facebook and was amazed at the people that talk about their birthday. So now I have the birthday, their address is on there, certainly their name is on there. Well, with that simple information, I can do an awful lot with identity theft. They put on Facebook when they're going on vacation. See, the whole family is going to be gone for 2 weeks or whatever the period of time is. Well, if I want to break into their house, guess what? They're gone. They put everything out there, and then they're amazed when they have identity theft. So what I would ask your listeners and viewers to do is look at your Facebook account and say, gee, if I were an identity theft person, am I going to easily be able to get name, address, date of birth? Eliminate those things from your Facebook. If you want people to give you birthday greetings, have maybe the month and the day, but certainly do not have the year on there. Now, that still is not going to make you very safe, because if I really want to follow your Facebook, you're going to talk about your 20th high school reunion coming up. I can come within a year or two of your birthday by knowing what year you graduated from high school. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to watch you for a while to figure out how old you are or a lot of personal things about you because of your Facebook. I know there are privacy settings on Facebook, and the default is to not have those privacy settings, so please go to your Facebook account, and if you want to share all those things with people, then please limit who you share that with instead of having it open to everyone.
Any other considerations before we let you go? Thoughts to people on how they can partner with their sheriff to keep their families safer?
Absolutely. Never give anyone any information about yourself when they contact you, whether it's by phone, email, or anything else. Because even if I call you and your caller ID says the name of your local bank on it, and they say there's a problem with your account, I can get an app on my phone that can tell you that I'm Barack Obama calling from Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. So don't believe what your phone says. Get if you think it's legitimate and it's someone that needs to talk, has a question about an account, get their name, get their phone number, who they work for, and then verify the number. In other words, call your bank and ask them, does this person work for you, and is this the right phone number to call them? And if they say yes, then you know it's okay to make that phone call. I just, a week ago, my father-in-law, who's elderly, has a Facebook account, and he is a little hard of hearing, got a phone call from a panicked young man saying that he was his grandson and that he was involved in a crash, and he doesn't want his parents knowing that he was in a crash, and he needs $1,500 to get out of jail, and he'll pay him back after he gets out of jail, but he needs the money right now. Please wire the money. Fortunately, and I'm really impressed that my father-in-law did this because he's a pretty hard-headed guy, he called me. He didn't just send the money, but he called me saying, hey, I need to send money to this guy. Can you, I'm just want to make sure that it gets taken care of properly so that Tony can get out of jail. And I immediately told him it's a fraud. If Tony were in jail, he can hire his own bondsman. He has a very good job. He can take care of himself. He doesn't need his grandfather in Ohio sending money to California to get him out of jail. So the first thing I did is I called my nephew and said, hey, Tony, how you doing? He said, great. It's our second anniversary. Wife and I are on a nice drive out in the country. And I said, oh, good. So you're not in jail. And he kind of laughs, says, no, why would I be in jail? And I said, well, because there's a scammer out there that just called your grandfather asking for $1,500 to get you out of jail. So don't send it. I really give credit. I had an elderly woman who I gave the same talk to about identity theft and also about these scams. And she said that she got a phone call. The man said that he was your grandson and he needed money, and send it to me, Grandma, because it's a terrible place. And she goes, I just slammed the phone down. And I said, well, that's wonderful. How did you know it wasn't your grandson? And she said, because I don't have any grandsons. And I said, well, good for you. So, again, my father-in-law was concerned, didn't realize it wasn't his grandson because he's got a hearing aid, probably didn't hear that well to begin with, and has someone panicking, probably was acting like he's crying or something when he's calling for the money. So what does an elderly person do? They want to be trusting. They certainly want to help out the grandchildren. Many of them are going to reach for the pocketbook and send the money. So never give anyone money when they contact you. You contact them and confirm that they are who they say that they are. Again, partnering with the sheriff. Sheriffs, again, we're a different breed. It's important for us to be visible and accessible, and we pride ourselves on that. So get involved. I have a very active auxiliary that is out in the community helping with a lot of events. We're putting on a Citizens Police Academy that starts in about 2 weeks, and that's more of an educational thing about people. It's 10 weeks long, teaching them about the office of sheriff, what we do, what we can do, what we cannot do. Probably the worst thing out there are these programs like NCI where everything is technology and you can pick up a hair follicle off the floor and stick it in the computer, and next thing you know you got the face, name, address of the suspect, and go, wow, let's go get this guy, and he's right around the corner. Real life doesn't work that way. Yes, we use those technologies, but on the TV show, I think they get the information in about 30 seconds. We're lucky to have it in 30 days.
Yeah, right. That bothers me every time we see a show like that. I just think that the people who must be the most in pain watching that are the people who do the real work and see that it's not like that at all.
Yeah, I can't watch those shows because my wife keeps saying, it's just a TV show, Mark. Mark, it's just a show. I'm like, but they wouldn't, you can't do it that way. You can't do this. So I do have to just look at it from an entertainment standpoint. So I'll watch Adam 12 or Andy Griffith, and then I'm getting a little closer to...
Hey, I forgot to ask you back when you were on the topic of keeping yourself safe when you're out and about in public places or shopping. What about these newest credit cards that have a built-in chip, an RFID chip? What consideration should people have about that kind of?
Actually, we have, for people that live in Wood County that want to stop by the office, we have a little envelope that you put the card into, and it blocks the chip. For people that don't know what that is, what the credit card companies have done, and it's because people must want this because they wouldn't do it if people didn't want to do it. There's a little chip that they're putting in a lot of credit cards so that when you go to the grocery store, you go to the store, you're in the checkout line, while you're in the line, without you having to take your wallet out of your pocket or out of your purse, they can go up there and say, oh, okay, you have 4 credit cards. Which one of them do you want to use today? And you don't even have to take your wallet out because they have it on their little screen. Well, lo and behold, the bad guys have learned how to get portable readers that they can just walk up within a couple feet of you and read your credit card information right out of your pocket. So if you don't have an RFI card, you don't live in Wood County, and again, maybe other sheriffs have these, we give them away. But if not, wrap it like aluminum foil and put it in your wallet, and that way it'll block the signal so they cannot do that. Or another option may be your credit card company, tell them that you do not want the RFI reader in your credit card. I certainly, yes, it's a little bit of a pain reaching behind, pulling my wallet out of my pocket, but I'm willing to do that to keep from having the bad guys read all my credit card information out of my pocket.
Well, Sheriff Mark Wasylyshyn, thank you so much for spending this time with us to help our Reluctant Preppers viewers understand things that they can do to help increase their family's safety and security, and also partner with their local sheriff to improve the safety of their community. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.